What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. I'm going to be bringing you my full overview of the Vosteed Labrador. Let's get into it. What we're going to do today is we're going to hit some size comparisons, profile, and we're going to do the weight, and then I'll jump into my thoughts and impressions on this knife. I like to start out with the size comparisons. So right out the gate, you'll know this is too big for me, too small for me, etc., etc. Here is the Pony Stout sub 3-inch knife and the Sin Cut Serene, one of my favorite button locks, under $50, sorry, under 40. That would be a deal, would it not? Under $50, great knife. But as you can see, the Labrador is a much longer but more slender knife than these two on the table. So we're going to go ahead and move the Pony Stout out of the way, and we'll move the Serene out of the way. We'll start with another sub 3-inch knife, and that is going to be, or I think it's right at 3 inches, the Para 3 with the Applied Weapon Tech scales. And we'll go ahead and bring out the Sebenza 31. I thought it'd be cool to check out a knife that has a very similar approach for the design slenderness here that you're seeing on that Labrador. So hopefully this is helping you a lot with the size reference. We're going to go ahead and bring out a bug out, because I think a bug out is another slender knife that I call EDC friendly, medium sized knife that is going to be really good for size comparison. And the last comparison knife that I'm going to bring out is my ProTech Mordax. Mordax is going to be a little bit taller, but it does have the length to it. But again, the Labrador is going to be longer than everything out here. And just for profile comparison, we'll do that with the larger knives again. So that way you get an idea how thin or thick the knife is. And that'll also help, because the slenderness, even though it is slender, you'll see the contouring, they thickened it out. And sometimes on a slender knife, that can make a difference on how good that'll feel in hand. Now with the Sebenza, it's a little harder because the contouring on the ends goes really far out, but you can see it's just a skosh thicker overall than the Sebenza until you get to the inlays. And then when you get to the inlays evens the thickness out. And the last one I think will be really good, because the Serene is pretty slender too, because it doesn't have the liners in it. And you can see here at the contoured section of the knife that the Labrador is just a little bit thicker. All right, let's check the weight on this out. Another thing that'll be a factor to how it feels in hand, how it'll feel in the pocket when you're carrying it. So you're coming in at 3.5 ounces, very lightweight, really good weight for EDC, something that you don't want. Something that you want in the pocket that you don't want to feel too heavy. Now, let's talk about the knife itself. And because we have multiple deployment options, instead of starting with ergos like I normally do, we're going to just talk about these deployment methods. So you got a very nicely jumped flipper tab here, so you have it all the way around. So if you like to push button your knife, you can do that, and the detent will feel very snappy, almost heavy. And then if you like to light switch, that's going to be a little less heavy on the detent than the push. The push feels a little bit heavier for some reason, and I think it has to do with the fact that it's almost even, just slightly above the pivot. So I think that break point past the detent, it helps it feel a little bit lighter, not so lethargic, very snappy detent. The front flipper here, for me, based on how I prefer and what I find works best as far as front flipper, because if you're trying to go from the grip point and you're trying to do this, it's not going to be very good. It's going to catch the finger, but just moving that forward, catching it between the meat of the hands, grabbing onto the tip of the scale with your fingertips, and then hitting that light switch from here, it's going to work okay. It's going to work better than the other position for sure, but I don't like the fact that this contours back. I think that actually makes it hard even for how I like to flip knives. I think it actually makes it worse. I think they should have gone straight up just a little bit more, because unless you're trying, and it's so smooth, the jimping is so slick, I can't just get it from the top. I have to come right at the bottom, and even then, you see I just missed it. Even then, I struggle with that front flipper. I almost think they shouldn't have put it there, or they should have made it a little straighter, because I think giving that flat spot would have made it a little bit easier to do that front flipper. Now let's talk about the thumb studs, because the thumb studs are my favorite means of deployment for this one. You can do the thumb flick the reverse flick, and the detent feels strong, feels very well tuned for the thumb studs. I like that action a lot. Very smooth on the close. They tuned it very well. It is centered. Wait, is it? Yeah, there you go. I was like, I thought it was centered. Maybe just a skosh to the show side. Let me see. Yeah, just a skosh. Like I'm barely pushing it over. And you can see with that little bit of push, you can see the white go into my finger when I push. Just that little bit off. It's not much. Let's just check something. No play. There's no play in the pivot, and there is no lock rock. And you're dealing with 154 cm on the Labrador. Very good steel for this price point. You got beautiful, well done black micarta with a little bit of a copper pivot collar for pop of color. You got a fold over deep carry pocket clip, but it is not reversible. And it prioritized the lanyard hole over that. Stick a lanyard pin in there, guys, and push that thing right on up to the top, even if you want to integrate the second hole here for the barrel into the pocket clip to get that all the way up to the top. I think that would be better. Now, because this is a longer knife and because it is chunky, it actually is very comfortable in hand for larger hands. And if you have that medium hand, which I imagine would look like if I were choking up, still pretty comfortable. You do have a little bit more, likely that'll hang off the back for those medium hands. For those larger hands though, I take up everything except the last little flat spot up there and that relaxed grip. You got a nice little indentation here to put that first part of the finger up, and that'll help you with any kind of control cuts. And then you can use that also for any of your pinch cuts if you wanted to come up here and grip onto it for those very controlled slow cuts. Nice, thin and slicey. Really good finishes on here. You have that polished belt satin look to it. Really good thumb studs for those deployments. I love this style thumb stud. Even if they wanted to make them just a little bit wider, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with those thumb studs. Those are my favorite for deployment, and the flipper tab and thumb stud action are phenomenal. I would just say for me, that front flipper, it's just a little bit of a miss on this one. Access to the lock bar is good. I can get in there, and it's got really big jimping on there, man. You cannot fall off that lock bar unless you are just really going way too fast. So regardless of how you like to disengage the lock, that works really well, and it just has such good action on there. This one here is definitely a winner for me from Vosteed. Really love the finishes, the colors, the design, the size. All of the materials just really work. Great weight, nice lightweight EDC. And again, this is an overview. I cannot disassemble it. It is not my knife, and I can't carry and cut with it a ton because it's not my knife. I just get a chance to take a look at it, mess with it a little bit, get a feel for it, and maybe test the edge on some paper just to see if it has a good factory edge that doesn't have any blemishes. But paper cuts only tell you how well the edge is finished. It's not going to tell you how well the 154 cm is going to cut through materials. You have to cut material to do that, and I can't tell you how long the edge will be. How long the edge will retain. That all depends on the HRC and how well they do their steels. But I've had experience with Vosteed in the past, had a few of their knives and a few different steels, and they seem to do a good job. Their edges seem to hold up well. I have not had any chip or anything funky like that, so I can say that there is some good quality for money there. And if you love this design, I can easily recommend this knife. Let me know what you think about this one down in the comments though. Is it a winner? Do you like that long, slender look? Is it not for you? And let me know why. Definitely interested in hearing that feedback, especially because it'll help me with how I use my own funds on the channel and what I pick up to try to review and take a look at as well. Because if there are things that we have similar interest in, I want to check them out. And I like to check things out that I might normally not carry myself, because it's fun to check them out and really see how everything comes together with that. Shout out to everyone out there that leaves the likes, comments regularly, and is subscribed with that notification bell turned on. I appreciate all the support. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.